Besides being a former Under-Secretary General of United Nations and former Minister of State for Human Resources, Development and External Affairs of the Government of India, we have Sir today on stage for the inaugural speech. Welcome, sir.
Dr. P.A. Shamsuddin, Dr. K.C.U. Unni, Mr. P.A. Moideen Kutti, Sheikh Abdullah Ali Al-Mullah, Mr. Bijinder Singh, all the distinguished ladies and gentlemen on the dais, friends, it's a pleasure to join all of you today as we commemorate 20 years of the Al-Shams Medical Group. When Dr. Shamsuddin, your managing director, invited me to become chief guest of this program and participate in this moment of great pride for you, I happily agreed. Because since its inception in 2003, Al-Shams, having consistently rendered high-quality healthcare to our society, has grown from strength to strength, rising to become one of the foremost healthcare providers of Sharjah and the Northern Emirates. As Dr. Shamsuddin informed me, what began as a small clinic has evolved into a spectacular collection of multi-specialty medical centers. Today, 20 years since it embarked on this outstanding journey to deliver affordable, high-quality healthcare while serving the larger causes of humanity, Al-Shams boasts of a trusted network of 7 medical centers and 4 pharmacies across Sharjah, the Northern Emirates, and my own state of Kerala, whose capital I represent in the lower house of parliament. In thus advancing by leaps and bounds, in thus striving to serve our society with excellence, compassion, and integrity, Al-Shams truly embodies what the renowned German-American physician Martin Fisher said of the medical profession. Our profession, he remarked, is the only one which works unceasingly to annihilate itself. Yet I'm sure that all the medical professionals here believe that to annihilate themselves and their profession is certainly to deliver humankind from the grasp of terrible illnesses. So it is that doctors, right from the day that they as youngsters pursue medicine, dedicate themselves completely to serving causes far larger than themselves, causes that are located at the very heart of our planet's survival. This precisely is the burden that Al-Shams has so reliably shouldered for the past 20 years. And this is why today it is at the forefront of advancing healthcare services and medicinal technology in the UAE and, interestingly now, in Kerala. Because Al-Shams is dedicated to ensuring that people in all parts of its areas of operation can access its quality healthcare services, its colossal medical and diagnostic center in the industrial area here strategically encompasses the Sharjah industrial belt, all while ensuring that it caters to the healthcare needs of even the remote, faraway places it operates in. What is more, through its extensive syndication and collaborations with all major medical insurance companies in the UAE, Al-Shams is able to afford its patients highly efficacious, cutting-edge and accessible services at reasonable prices. Thanks to the homely ambience and the friendly atmosphere of your medical and diagnostic centers, over 50,000 patients frequent them every month. This perhaps is your greatest reward, the trust, faith, and confidence that your patients have in your quality of service. I was also pleased to learn from Dr. Shamsuddin that at Al-Shams, you not only fulfill your corporate social responsibilities scrupulously, but also take enormous pride in these activities, which have turned you into a pillar of strength and stronghold of medical expertise. From regularly conducting free checkup drives and blood donation camps, to establishing dialysis centers and old age homes in Kerala, Al-Shams has been seeking to transform the lives of thousands of impoverished individuals who, unlike us, cannot access even the most basic healthcare easily. In 2015, for instance, you donated to an NGO a fully functional and fully equipped pain and palliative care center at Kalamuri in Kaipamangalam in Thrissur. during the terrible floods that lashed Kerala in 2018, destroying the lives and livelihoods of countless Malayalis, many of whom were already very poor. Al Shams came to the rescue of an impoverished family in Padiyur, rehabilitating them by constructing a new house. I'm also impressed to note that even as you commemorate your 20th anniversary with this awe-inspiring celebration in this lovely setting, you have undertaken as part of the celebration 20 life-saving medical assistance programs for the downtrodden, out of which 13 operations have been successfully completed thus far. So even in your hour of celebration and glory, you have not forgotten your obligation to society's weakest, most vulnerable citizens. And that's what makes you, in my view, worthy of adulation and applause. Yes, I sincerely hope that more organizations in the private sector will follow in your footsteps. Under the stewardship of some remarkable industry experts, the men and women who are the custodians of our world's well-being, and many of whom are gathered here today, Al Shams has emerged as a rich repository of medicinal knowledge and medical technology. Could I get a glass of water, please? I deeply appreciate your devotion to perpetuating this wisdom and passing it on to posterity, which you do by regularly conducting the continuing medical education conferences where venerable doctors and medical professionals from around the world, thank you, convene to exchange ideas, knowledge, and expertise. Now, though we've gathered here today to celebrate these 20 triumphant years of Al Shams, we cannot allow this moment of hard-fought-for success to eclipse the larger issues at stake in our post-pandemic world. Our victories and glory should never, especially in such high-octane moments, make us complacent. The greater the success we attain, the greater the burden upon us to not only maintain the standard, but scale even loftier heights, carrying out our mission to fruition. And this is especially true of Al Shams as an organization devoted to making our world a better and healthier place to live in. Thank you. Therefore, as an Indian lawmaker from Kerala, I'd like to take this opportunity to share with you, the leadership and the well-wishers of Al Shams, my perspective on some of the recent trends and challenges in the healthcare ecosystem of India and Kerala, alongside outlining my vision of the role that Al Shams can play, in addition to all the good work you've been doing in Kerala in helping us surmount some of our most formidable hurdles. The medical landscape of our world, especially in the aftermath of COVID-19, is evolving rapidly. Every effort must be made to ensure that Al Shams is in a position to adapt to these revolutionary changes in medical science and technology, and to lead the charge in leveraging these advancements for the benefit of all the people in its areas of operation. Now, while estimates vary, the Brookings Institution has suggested that the post-COVID world will be looking at a $4.4 trillion increase in public healthcare spending, especially in developing countries, which will result in a 7% increase in global GDP by 2040 just because of health expenditure. We have witnessed such trends in the past, even in the aftermath of the SARS and Ebola outbreaks, but I think it's important that an organization like Al Shams should harness these promising developments and evolve over the course of the next few years, building on your widely lauded track record and ensuring even higher quality healthcare services in this environment in the next 20 years. Now, any conversation about the future of your organization must focus first and foremost on your concerns, the concerns of all the doctors, medical professionals, students of medicine, and support staff who have already been mentioned by Dr. Shamsuddin in his remarks. I've often pointed out that though we often refer to the medical profession as a calling, a mission, a higher purpose, and so on, the life of a doctor, especially in India's overburdened and underfunded public healthcare infrastructure, is often exacting and thankless. It's also often accompanied by great risk, placing our doctors and medical professionals in harm's way. Just in today's newspapers, you will have seen about a doctor being stabbed in Chennai. And I'm sorry to say, as somebody who has passionately advocated better protection for doctors, I'm ashamed and agonized to recall two earlier terrible incidents that took place in the last 2 years in India. Last year in Kerala, Dr. Vandana Das, a young house surgeon at a public hospital in Kottarakara, was horrifically stabbed to death by a patient. That too in the presence of the police, who had taken the attacker to the hospital for urgent treatment. And as if the situation could not get any bleaker, India's Independence Day last year was not the usual joyous affair, because a few days earlier, on 9th August, a dynamic and hardworking 31-year-old postgraduate trainee doctor was brutally raped and murdered at a public hospital in Kolkata where she worked. This abominable act triggered an avalanche of protests all across India, and especially in Kolkata, rightly casting a pall on the celebratory spirit of Independence Day. As hundreds of thousands of Indian citizens, medical practitioners and laypersons, men and women alike, took to the streets in fury, I found myself lamenting multiple lost opportunities, some of which I myself had tried to initiate earlier in the Parliament of India. The bottom line is, these are not just simply shocking and heinous occurrences. They are in fact a blot on our collective conscience for failing to safeguard our medical professionals, for failing to allow them to discharge their humanitarian duties in a secure atmosphere. While we lose no time in celebrating the groundbreaking achievements of our medical professionals, especially during crises like COVID-19, we are often guilty of not sufficiently recognizing the harrowing ordeals that many doctors have to confront in the workplace on a day-to-day basis. 2 years ago, do you know that Kerala alone recorded 137 instances of attacks on medical professionals? Unconscionable, unforgivable. Assaults on those who seek nothing more than to heal us. Indeed, according to a survey by the Indian Medical Association, more than 75% of all doctors in India have been subject to some form of violence at work. 75%. Shocking. Now, while I've long been demanding that the government of India introduce a new law to safeguard our medical professionals from violence at their workplace, and I've introduced such a law myself, I have been told over and over that the government does not deem it prudent to introduce a dedicated law for the healthcare sector, apparently on the grounds that it could encourage other professional groups, like chartered accountants, to demand laws for their own fields. And in answer to a question I posed in Parliament earlier this year made clear, the government obdurately believes that India's newly rehauled penal and criminal procedure codes have adequate provisions to protect medical professionals against violence. And yet, as I said, even in today's newspapers, you can see the headline of the incident in Chennai yesterday. In fact, because there is a considerable gap in our laws, the specter of unprovoked violence continues to haunt our medical professionals. It was precisely to fill this gap that I introduced a private member's bill in August last year, seeking to criminalize, to recognize as cognizable and non-bailable the acts of violence against healthcare professionals, including paramedical students, workers, administrative staff, and ASHA workers, the accredited social health activists. Now, I think people like those of you in Al-Shams can play a prominent role in bolstering such efforts. All of you know better than any lawmaker the nature of the numerous challenges you face in the medical profession, not only in India, which I'm talking about, but perhaps in your areas of operation. So you must draw the attention of your elected representatives to the challenges you face day after day, impressing upon them the urgent need to introduce effective laws that enable you to practice your noble profession without threats of violence looming upon you. Only with your crucial inputs and advice on practical matters will lawmakers and policymakers be able to introduce laws that can stand the test of time, shielding you from violence in the workplace. The truth is, though we've had enough wake-up calls, the murder of a young doctor in Kerala, the grisly murder of a postgraduate trainee doctor in Kolkata, and now the stabbing of a doctor in Chennai, all of this prove that we have failed to take the necessary action to prevent such violence. Another challenge that India still faces, perhaps you don't have it here, is the shortage of doctors. Nowhere is this challenge more starkly manifest than in the painful throes of COVID-19, when it was laid bare at the cost of countless avoidable deaths and unprecedented human suffering. Now, of course, some people claim in the government that we've improved upon the WHO recommended doctor-to-patient ratio, which is 1 person to 1,000 members of population, and that they're claiming that India has 1 doctor to 900 people and Kerala is doing even better. But several parts of India are lagging far behind, with just not enough doctors available to tend to the population. This may sound odd given that around 55,000 doctors and 25,000 postgraduate specialists graduate from Indian medical schools every year. But it has not been a decade since a parliamentary committee discovered that India would need to add 100 medical colleges every year for 5 consecutive years to get a sufficient number of doctors by 2029. Are we in India establishing even a dozen new medical schools every year? I doubt it. As of August 23, however, we have about 700 medical colleges, but every year we end up losing the stars of the graduating classes to highly lucrative jobs either abroad or in private hospitals in India, which are far beyond the reach of the ordinary citizen. Of course, Kerala, with 73,069 doctors, is far better in this regard. We indeed have a better doctor-to-patient ratio than the WHO recommendation. Currently, Kerala is at 1 to 509. But even with this favorable ratio, our healthcare infrastructure was severely tested during COVID-19. And many doctors' associations have flagged that with the number of doctors available at hand, especially in public healthcare facilities, we just didn't have enough to cope with the pandemic. Instead of arguing that the pandemic just took us by surprise, we need a long-term roadmap that can empower us to handle the next pandemic or any such medical cataclysm in the future. So we need to examine the working conditions of our doctors, especially those in the public healthcare sector. In 2017, there was a report by the Kerala State Planning Board's Working Group on Medical and Public Health, which observed there's a paucity of doctors, nurses, and paramedical staff in the government sector. The report said, quote, "For doctors, the main reason seems to be the unattractive salaries and service conditions vis-à-vis the private sector. For all categories, a delay in recruitment via the Public Service Commission is also a problem." But this is obviously to be addressed by the Government of India, but in 7 years since the report, nothing has moved. Al-Shams, of course, whose footprint in Kerala is expanding every day, can also help us to set our medical house in order. We must, of course, have to make sure that salaries for doctors and nurses and staff in public healthcare is competitive, that appointments and recruitments are made without delay, that doctors in our public hospitals are not overburdened, that they are protected from violence, and that solid measures are in place to ensure job security. Only when we do all of that can we truly reverse the worrying trends I've been talking about. On the one hand, India is hailed as a pharmacy of the world because we export vaccines, medicines, medical supplies around the world, including during the pandemic. But on the other hand, we don't have enough medical professionals and paramedical staff for our own people. We can't just celebrate one thing and mourn the latter. We need to fix both. And we must, of course, develop the conditions that allow doctors to flourish. Now, of course, you can argue that what I'm saying is for the government to do. Why is it your problem? First of all, you are here to talk about the healthcare sector, so you need to be aware of this. But also, given how wide the problem is, I would argue that a compassionate and innovative organization like yours, Al-Shams, you can bolster the efforts of lawmakers and policymakers in India to evolve long-term, comprehensive, and far-reaching solutions. How can you be of help? In a number of ways, including through policy inputs for the government. By training and upskilling doctors, you mentioned the continuing medical education program. You can share vital medical research and technical know-how with, for example, the Kerala government's medical service. You can assist the government to build up infrastructure such that even public facilities are equipped with the best technology. Your contributions will improve the quality of healthcare services available to the public. allowing poorer citizens who cannot afford private healthcare to access the best treatments and facilities. These are the goals of Al-Shams here. They should be there everywhere. Help us create a more compassionate society. And let's face it, since the early 1990s, private healthcare, like the Al-Shams Medical Group, has outpaced public healthcare in Kerala. As far back as 1991, 95.3% of the hospitals and 97% of the dispensaries in Kerala were run by private organizations. Even today, private healthcare facilities are well above the quality of their public sector counterparts. So many poor people are going to private hospitals where they end up paying through the nose for more than they can afford. The truth is that poverty still is one of the greatest challenges confronting Indians, and healthcare has a terribly significant role in determining the fate of India's poor. Our working poor are just one economic shock away from slipping below the poverty line. For a daily wage laborer, an economic shock means going as little as going without one day's wages because of being sick or unable to work. In India today, such a catastrophic or terminal illness as cancer could mean wiping out an entire family's financial security. Land, home, jewelry, everything else the family possesses are sold in desperation to afford the exorbitant cost of treatment, especially of the breadwinner. About a staggering 47% of hospital admissions in rural India, 31% in urban India have been financed by the loan or sale of vital assets. We cannot forget that India's poor people are living just one illness away from abject poverty, and even the lower middle class are living one illness away from poverty. Now, there's no question that all this is happening because Indians, and in Kerala particularly, they're victims of extremely high out-of-pocket expenditure. In fact, I was interested to hear you talking about tying up with the insurance companies here in the UAE. In Kerala, what has happened is that 41% of the total income of Keralites, as established in a 2020 study published in the International Journal of Community Medicine and Public Health, 41% of the total income of Keralites was spent on healthcare for chronic diseases. That's cataclysmic expenditure. COVID-19 treatment costs, 49% of the households in 2020 said they had a debilitating health expenditure in the pandemic. So this is a matter of great, great concern because we have to obviously improve our public health expenditure to protect people from all this. Indeed, we have to chart a roadmap for the future. And another area where Al-Shams can play a crucial role. Perhaps you could help us with capacity building in the field of medical research and innovation. Make concerted efforts. As part of your document that I was given, Vision for the Future, 20 years and beyond, Al-Shams has dedicated itself to driving innovation in and eventually adopting new medical technologies. Share them with us in Kerala, where you also have your areas of operation. Help us to meet the evolving needs of our people. We can make significant headway in Kerala as well as here if we make a real collaborative approach towards medical research, an approach where the efforts of the government are complemented and supported by the expertise and experience of private sector organizations like Al-Shams Group. It is not an argument for encouraging privatization of the healthcare sector. Rather, it is a call to develop a framework through which our public healthcare and medical education system can develop an interface with the private sector to address some of the gravest, most fundamental challenges facing us. I think this can be a sort of good public-private model which combines the strengths of both sectors in sharing technology, in financing clinical interventions to look into root causes, in encouraging more joint research on evolving treatments and protocols, working together to enhance the reach of preventive efforts, and investing in medical research and development, as well as in medical education. You can actually help train doctors, especially at a time when foreign institutions are showing interest in setting up a world-class network of medical education institutions in India. Your outstanding continuing medical education programs of Al-Shams, where you build upon the latest breakthroughs in medical treatments and technologies, actually equip you to become a key stakeholder in such public-private educational efforts in Kerala. Such a partnership in research and development and academia, accompanied by a mutual understanding of the economics of healthcare, where patients' interests and providers' bottom lines are both taken into account, may enable a more expansive and largely fair system to be created, preventing unethical profiteering without stifling productivity, innovation, and the capacity to develop and embrace the best technology. Such a public-private model for our healthcare system should not only look inwards, but also tap into the enormous talent reservoir of non-resident Indian and particularly non-resident Keralite communities, because you've all excelled in the medical profession around the world. Having marveled at the great work that you are doing in the UAE and India, I'm sure that Al-Shams, as a vibrant and vigorous organization of medical professionals, can help do its part to help us in Kerala to revolutionize our public healthcare and realize our goals of capacity building in the fields of medical research and development. So perhaps the greatest need of the hour is for all of us to come together across the table to work out such a model. There will be challenges, such as issues of data privacy and protection, but I'm confident we can do this together, given the right approach on both sides. I'd like to thank you all once again at Al-Shams for so graciously inviting me here to preside over these celebrations and to join you in your moment of happiness and glory. Once again, I congratulate the Al-Shams Medical Group for completing 20 wonderful years in both delivering high-quality and affordable healthcare services and carrying out philanthropic works, especially in Kerala, with the utmost dedication and fervor. Long may you continue pushing the envelope in the realm of medical research and innovation, and long may you continue symbolizing the healing touch, always miraculous, of medicine. I love that slogan on your screen when we came in, where dedication meets healing. I wish you the very best of luck in all your future endeavors, and let's hope the next 20 years are even more glorious than the first 20. Thank you very much.